Hello, everybody. Sorry to spring this one on you. I did a thing this morning with Baroness Nicholson and a few other people, and the problem that I had with the format took me by surprise. So first of all, Baroness Nicholson very kindly asked me first for a question to answer a question, and I thought first of all, oh no, you should I'll speak to a woman first, please. So I kept it as short as I could, and then everyone else did really long kind of speeches where they got all their points in. So I was like, I had all these things to say. So I just wanted to say some of them now, and perhaps people on Twitter could bring this to the attention of Baroness Nicholson, because I think some of these are very important points. Like, okay, this is the big thing about Stonewall for me. There's a big scandal going on with Stonewall. I heard a rumor tonight that Sainsbury's are leaving. May not be true, but even if it's not true, a lot of people are leaving, and what's extraordinary about that is that people don't even know the two biggest scandals to do with Stonewall. The first, of course, is Amy Challoner, and it still blows my mind that even now there is no discussion of the fact that Amy Challoner was at Stonewall while they were pushing self-ID, and was on the Trans Advisory Board. And Amy Challoner, throughout his career, his extraordinary political career, based on nothing, he's by all accounts not a bright guy. But like his kind of extraordinary rise to prominence in places like Stonewall, the Lib Dems. Did you know he's still in the Lib Dems? I found this out the other night. He's still in the Lib Dems, and they're still kind of, they're not doing what they should be doing, which is they should be saying, how on earth did this obvious safeguarding nightmare get through our systems and get so far? So Challoner, as we all know, Challoner is a pedophile. Well, he's definitely going out with a pedophile. Right? This is a self-confessed pedophile who writes stories about quote unquote mind control and children. And if you want to be even more concerned about this, then listen to the interview I did today, which is on the podcast. It's the last post on my Substack, and have a listen to that interview, right? Because I mean, I do talk about grooming in a wider sense often, but this is very, very specific. This is older men targeting young boys, right, online. And they're using the language of empowerment and freedom, and you have to be the real you, all the kind of trans cliches we've come to know and love from the other side, the glitter family, as they call it, Anyway, where was I? So Challoner is obviously, he's not a good person to have in your political party. He's not a good person to be around children. He shouldn't be near children. Neither should his boyfriends. I mean, these are three pedophiles living together, two of whom are much older than Challoner. It's an extraordinary story, right? But it's not what's causing this exodus from Stonewall. Can you imagine if more people knew this story? And for some reason, it just never caught on as a thing. I always just thought, okay, you've got this kind of company that's advising 850 at the time, 850 institutions all over the UK, right? That's like the nervous system of the UK. And you have a pedophile adjacent guy who is telling, for instance, girl guiding, right? That when someone self-identifies as trans, then the safeguarding procedures they have for men disappear. They don't just weaken or soften, they disappear. It's the most extraordinary thing, and we're all sleepwalking through it. And I did want to talk about it more today, and I didn't really see it. Someone says I've closed the window, opened it again, and no, you can all see this, right? Okay, Artie's here. You can all see this, right? Can someone say yes in the comments, just so I know? I haven't made a mistake. No. Okay. Well, you know I'm talking about Chandler, so maybe it's okay. I don't know. I just can't tell whether. Yes, great. Someone said yes. Sorry. So anyway, so that's the first great scandal. The second great scandal is to do with Stonewall's Mission, right? Stonewall's Mission is an LGBT charity. I mean, it's added the T very recently, but it did so, which is fine. However, the LGBT part of it is still presumably an important aspect. And if you want to be an have the letters LGB in your name, you know, no matter how many extra letters you've added onto the end of it, things like aromantics, you know, for fuck's sake, right? If you want to add those letters, that's fine, as long as you still take care of the LGB. And the biggest challenge that's facing gay women at the moment is the cotton ceiling. You know, it is a disgraceful, coercive, rapey idea that that lesbians should even consider male-bodied people in their dating pool, you know. And if you look at Magdalene Byrne's videos, you know, which they never share. Notice that the failed comedian, he never shares any of the videos of Magdalene Byrne's, because he knows that they're dynamite. He knows that they are peak trans gold. But watch her videos and watch her when she's talking about these influencers who are just very subtly saying that there's something wrong with your what they call genital preferences, right? Which is their way of saying that there's something a bit dodgy about being a gay person, or there's something a bit dodgy about being a straight person, you know, because you're getting hung up on genital preferences. This is fucking grooming. This is pure grooming, and it's happening in plain sight, right? So anyway, that's the major problem facing, I think, the gay community at the moment, right? Is this? Of course, Stonewall have no interest in addressing this, and they pretend the way that the Panty Bliss did in Ireland, that there's no problem, that it doesn't exist, that we're all lying, and that everyone's a bigot, you know. But here's the thing. Here's the second scandal about Stonewall, right? Stonewall still have on their website. Go and Google it now. You'll see them. Google Morgan Page Stonewall, right? Morgan Page is still on. Is still somehow involved with Stonewall. I think they made him, when he came in, they made him a leader, whatever that is, right? I guess a thought leader or something, you know. But it's like Morgan Page. We know him because Benji, who started on this show, who's, you know, we started doing this show with Benji. Morgan Page did a workshop, and Benji was in it, right? Benji's a detransitioner, a young woman who now realizes she was always just a lesbian, and she, very luckily for us, went to Morgan Page's LGBT group. And she said, and I really recommend you go back and watch it, my interview with GNC Centric, or Benjamin Boyce's interview with GNC Centric. And she said that I'm going to say men and women, all right? But when I say men, I mean trans women. I mean trans-identified males, right? Because it's important to tell the truth when it comes to things like this. And this is a safeguarding issue, all right? So she said that there were older males in the group who were trans women, and there were much younger trans men, right? Because the trans men are, you know, completely different in their thinking about what's happening. You know, they're mostly young girls. It's obviously a social kind of virus that all these young girls are catching. Abigail Schreier's book proves that. So these young girls, right, who are already, you know, at risk in a safeguarding sense, are going to this trans support group with all these much older men. And Benji said there were within the group what she found very inappropriate relationships in that group between older trans women and younger trans men, right? Older men, younger women. Notice how these things never change. It's still older men with younger women, right? So this is Morgan Page. Not only that, though, Morgan Page did the infamous Overcoming the Cotton Ceiling workshop. The cotton ceiling being the word for the coercion. Cotton means, of course, panties, women's panties. You can imagine a more disgusting phrase to discuss, to title this problem, right? This problem of people like Morgan Page not automatically being considered as sexual partners for women who are lesbians, right? It's mind-blowing. It's mind-blowing. And he organized this workshop called Overcoming the Cotton Ceiling. Again, Google it. Google Overcoming the Cotton Ceiling, Morgan Page, and you'll see it. He's still on the Stonewall website. He's still on the Stonewall website, right? This is a major problem facing lesbians. And they've got a guy who says that lesbian boundaries are something to be overcome, you know? And Stonewall, because Stonewall itself has been groomed by queer theory and, you know, the fucking lunatic academics out there, you know, who are pushing this stuff, you know. By the way, do you ever wonder why people like Sally Hines call other academics bigots and stuff, you know? I mean, it's pure defensive move. It's basically, they know that they're the only people who will expose them, these TERFs, you know. But anyway, that's by the by. But the Morgan Page story, those are the two stories, and I do not understand why they're not bigger stories. Is the press so cowed by the LGBTQ RSTUV fucking lobby that they won't look at these stories where there's an obvious conflict of interest between lesbians and trans people? I did my prank, as you know, to prove that there were no lesbian spaces anymore, you know, and people like Helen Lewis and Katie. Oh, I won't go into that. But anyway, you know, it's a problem. It's an actual problem, and I just wanted to flag up those two stories because I don't think enough people know about them. And Baroness Nicholson, if you're watching this, or any of your colleagues, please do kind of look into these. I think it's a you know, it leads on to actually another question, which is freedom of speech, because of course, as we know, Amy Challoner, who I've started to call the Zelig of this fucking movement. Amy Challoner is the one who's behind, her and her cohorts are the ones who are behind thousands of GC women losing groups on Reddit, right? She's the one behind the silencing of discussion on this issue. You know, they shut real lesbians, you know, because it only had natal women. It was only for natal women, right? And another thing I wanted to kind of talk about was, don't forget these things, what I call the dog that didn't bark. I think it's in The Hound of the Baskervilles. It's the way Sherlock Holmes knows someone's guilty, right? Spoiler, because the dogs didn't bark. And the only reason the dogs didn't bark is because it was the owner coming up the drive or whatever, so they didn't bark, right? People have to start thinking about the dog that didn't bark in this discussion. There are hundreds of women who've been kicked off Twitter because of Twitter's rules, which protect men like Amy Challoner. There are hundreds more women who cannot speak and have to use sock puppets, because if they use their real account, they would get reported, harassed, and all the rest of it. Okay, so we need to think about the dog that didn't bark. All the people who we should be hearing from, who we're not hearing from. You know, if that makes sense. Like, I'll give you another example. Why isn't Jane Clare Jones on the TV all the time talking about this stuff? Why is there some extraordinarily, you know, bright people on our side, but you never see them on TV? And it's because, again, I think it's because they would pique everybody. They would pique everybody because you know, everyone would see how mad it is. Anyway, so that was it. Was there anything else I was going to say? I'll kind of take questions as well if you want. Is someone being mean? I'll block that person. There you go. That'll clear things up. So yeah. I think that's it. What was the other thing? Yeah, no, the other thing I wanted to mention, which I didn't mention today, is that I think the framing that we should start thinking about when it comes to this issue is fraud, right? It's fraud. That's what it is. That's what Stonewall have been doing. Fraud. You know, they have been lying, misrepresenting the law, and it's based on an ideology that is absurd, absolutely absurd. Alison Phipps, is that her name? Another academic. She got her students to describe their gender using Lego. Posted the photographs online, you know, to because she's not embarrassed. She's not embarrassed about this. She's proud of it. You know, these are not very bright people, and I think that they are defrauding people because, you know, it's a nonsense. It's all a load of nonsense, and these academics are terrified that people will find out, because once they do, they will, you know, they'll look like what they have been, which is a group of people who've been calling women bigots, left-wing heroes, you know, like Linda Bellos and Julie Burchill, or not Julie Julie Bindel. I got mixed up with them as well. Julie Bindel, Julie Burchill, of course, is GC, which is great. You know, there's a bunch of women who have been fighting to get out a very important story, right? Which is that the gender ideology is one thing. Adults deciding their whatever they want to be, their identity, all that stuff, pronouns in the bio, fine, do all that, right? You can knock yourself out. I'm not playing along, and neither is anyone I respect, but you can do it, you know, feel free, okay? But what we won't take is the medicalization of gender non-conforming children, you know, because they don't apply to your fucking stereotypes of what makes a man or a woman, you know? Fuck you. We will not do it, you know? And it's like the idea that women would just kind of relax about giving away rights, that other women threw themselves under racehorses to fucking sort out. And the idea that would just go back, you know? This is why I love Marion, you know? Marion for me is pure old school suffragettes, you know? And I'm just kind of really excited to see where this goes, because I just think we need the suffragettes back. It's that simple, you know, proper suffragettes. And the Scottish suffragettes, fucking hell, they weren't messing around. Anyway, sorry about that. Artie, I hope you don't feel bad that I didn't invite you in. I could invite you in now if you like. I'm waiting for some food to cook. So I don't have long, so it might not be worth it. Hold on a sec. God, is this gonna? Have I turned off the thing? No, it's not fine. I've only got 11 minutes, so it's not worth. It's not worth bringing other people in. But yeah, they were the things that I wanted to say. Think about the dog that didn't bark. All the women that we should be hearing from that were not. The two scandals that need attention: Amy Challoner and Morgan Page, right? Especially as they relate to girl guiding. Okay, girl guiding plus Amy Challoner plus Morgan Page is a huge scandal, and no one is fucking reporting on it. So press people to report on it. Do whatever you can. I mean, we try to cover everything we can in our blog, but it's fucking hard because there's so much news. There's so much news, but no one's covering it. So yeah. I'm going to go and get something to eat. I just wanted to put all that stuff down in the video. Hopefully it's not too long. Please pass on. Oh, no, I'll email it to Emma. What am I talking about? I'll see you soon. Bye.